Today we're building out this time tracking dashboard from Frontend Mentor. This is the first time I'm doing this, so you'll get to see my process live, including any debugging that we run into. So if you're interested in that, stick around for this live code. Hey, what's up? My name is Chris, and welcome to Coding in Public. I love to teach through web development topics using project builds. And today we're going to use a project build that I didn't design. We're just going to build something out from Frontend Mentor. Now, a lot of times I'll do these as live streams. In this case, it didn't work out timing-wise, so I wanted to go ahead and just kind of pre-record it, but I'm going to record it as if I'm live streaming it, and that way you get the benefit of me just coding through it live. So what I've got over here is just the project itself. I went ahead and pulled up the index.html file, and then I've got that set up over here with live server. But other than that, that's all I've done. So I haven't looked through how to do this, exactly what I need to do. So let's kind of walk through this together as we would in a live stream. So let me pull up this README again. And it looks like, let's see, it looks like you can either load the JSON data or you can just kind of do it using the stuff in the HTML. Let's see, let me quickly read through this, and that way you don't have to watch me read this, and I'll be right back with you. All right, so it looks like we basically have three different states. We have daily, we have weekly, and we have monthly. It basically just needs to change the text along with that. Looks like everything I'll need is in the design folder, so we should be set. And then I think these images, are just the ones I'll use to actually build out the design. So let's get some active states up, and maybe let's start with a mobile design. So this is what it should look like stacked up and down. Let's see, what does active states give me? Okay, so there's like a hover state as well we need to play with. So why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and rather than overcomplicate this, let's keep it pretty basic and start with just the style sheet. And so we'll do style.css here, and this is where we'll do everything. And I don't know if we're going to load this from the data. Right now, let's just do it live, and we'll kind of see if we have time to do anything like that. All right, so maybe what I should do is before we do anything else, let's kind of get the base style set and ready to go, and that should speed us up a little bit once we actually get around to coding this. So I'm going to come in here, and we've got a lot of different colors. Let's see, work, play, font size, typography doesn't give me anything. Oh, yeah, it does right here. So we'll grab this. And let me see what size, 3, 4, and 5. So let's grab those 3. Let's go 4. I don't know if we'll need the italics, but let's go ahead and grab it, 4 and 5. Okay, now I'll come up top here, go ahead and grab this, and I'll add both of these to my clipboard. Let's just use the HTML here. So link right here, and then we'll grab this rubric sans serif. Okay, cool. So we've got that. Let's do all of that separately. So let me come over here, and first of all, I'm going to add in my HTML up top here. Let's see, right below the title, I'll go ahead and add that in here, and then let's come over this way, and I'm going to grab, first of all my after. Let's grab everything after, and then also the before. We'll just do a basic clear here of box sizing, border box, and then we'll do margin 0 and padding 0. All right, and then on my body itself, I'll add that font family. Oops, not that, that. All right, so that way it should update once we get everything set. Speaking of getting it set, why don't we link this up together? So right in here, let's say a style. What do I need? Link CSS like that, and that should point to the same area. Okay, so there we go. It actually did update for us, so that's good. Next, why don't we worry about the colors? Now, let me come back to this mobile design just to make sure I understand exactly what we got. So it looks like this background color, all of these, and then the hover state, I think, let's see, might be just one of these. This is going to be hard to figure out exactly what we need to do. So why don't we just do our best guess, and then we'll go from there. It looks like this dark blue is the background, so we could start there, maybe. This dark blue might be the background. All right, so let's go ahead and just start with these colors. And since they're calling them neutrals, let's just call them that as well. And I'm just pasting these into a clipboard manager called Pastebot, and it'll just allow me to paste these back in the order I copied them. And then we've got all these different colors. I think most of these are just for the cards themselves. And then this one is what looks like maybe the text might be, or that front part of the card. We'll figure out in a second. If you like building out projects, I think Frontend Mentor is a great place to start because they give you a whole variety of projects that are already pre-designed, which sometimes can take up a lot of time if you're trying to come up with your own things So that's a great place to start. And like I said, I don't really post these anywhere. I just do them for fun, and they help me kind of stay on top of my game, I think. All right, so we've got all that set. Let's go ahead and add this to our CSS. So let me pull that up. What I'm going to do is actually set these up as variables. So let's see. Why don't we just do a little comma here? So colors, and then inside here, I'm going to do my neutral, let's see, neutral 1, like that. And we'll point this to, oh, I copied the whole thing. All right, so we don't need that. How about like that? And then I'll change each of these. In fact, let me just come in here. We'll grab this as 2, 3, and 4. We'll just paste these in one after the other. Looks like that one, not exactly sure what happened there. So we'll need to grab this. We might need to grab that one again. All right, and after my neutrals, I also had some other colors. I'm not sure what these are yet. I forget, so let's just paste them in one after the other, like that. And we'll add names to these in a second. That's an orangey color, some kind of blue color, some kind of red color, some kind of green color. Let's just do it like this. Okay, so at least I got them on here now, and I got to figure out what this one's supposed to be. Where's my style guide? Looks like, let's just grab all of this here, and I'm just gonna replace all this, and we'll add in that neutral text here in a second. So like that, and like this. All right, and then let me copy this down. This part of a project always takes a little bit of time, but obviously it's important to get it right and to do it so that you can code it out quickly once you actually get around to doing that. But it may not be the most entertaining to watch, but you've got the skip button, so I don't. Let me know how it goes. All right, so coming back in here, let's go ahead and add these, this syntax here, just so I can kind of add everything all at the same time, just by using the down arrows when I'm ready for it. All right, so that's good. Let's add these in here. What we're going to do is just assign these variable names, and then we can adjust out what we need to as we use them throughout the project. So let's give these random colors. Let me see. We've got 2 purples, and I don't remember exactly when we'll use one or the other. So it looks like this is the card purple, and this is whatever this like a user card, I guess, total. So let's separate these things out just mentally to kind of keep track of stuff. Let's call this avatar purple or something like this, or maybe just avatar. That I think that should work. Yeah, I think I know what I'm going to do. So I think what we're going to do is have one variable that we just adjust inside each card. So in other words, I'm not really going to be calling these but one time, and we'll just update everything according to them. So I think we're going to leave that one like that. That should be fine. And then we'll just call these the colors they are. So orange, and I guess this would be what? Something like cyan. We'll call this red. We'll call this green. And this will just be plain old purple and yellow. All right, that way I don't have to try to remember what special names I gave them, like card 1 or stuff like that. I'll just name by the colors. Okay, so with that said, let me come back to this mobile design. It looks like that neutral 1 is my background for everything. So let's go ahead and set that up. So I'll come in here to my background, and we're just going to grab neutral -1. Let's see, this needs to be wrapped in a var, like that. Did that work? Yeah. All right, cool. Let's also change the color itself then. And in this case, I'm guessing it's like that neutral 4 maybe. Maybe it's just white. Let's zoom in and see. I mean, that looks pretty white to me, and maybe this is that neutral 4. So they didn't give me neutral. They didn't give me white as a color, but we'll be fine. So let's set the default color to everything. Let's set it just to white. I think that should work. And then I'm going to strip out the Frontend Mentor stuff at the bottom, just so that it actually looks how it's supposed to look. And you know where it's from because you're watching it. All right, back over this way, and let's actually pull back up that mobile design. Let's work on templating out these cards. So this one's different than all the rest, obviously. But what we're going to do is use some kind of templating to switch out all these icons and everything else. So trying to think, could I do these with CSS variables? Maybe. Let's start with this one. Let's also look for the desktop design and pull that up. So it looks like it stacks this way on desktop, and on mobile it just snaps over. So I think the easiest way to do this would be with some kind of trying to think, maybe just flex, because it looks like the entire thing needs to stretch the height of this. So let's set the entire thing up as a flex itself. So all of this, we'll set it up as a kind of a flex container in the center. So let's open back up our index.html. And I have it to where only 3 tabs can show at a time. That's just so I don't end up opening like 1,000 tabs and remind myself just to quickly switch with a command P. All right, so let me come in here and let's add a container. That's what we'll call it. And then that pushes everything to the center. Let's now do, let's see, I guess we could do it on this as well. So we'll make that container our flex item as well. Then what we'll do is have an avatar. Maybe what we should do is have a card class, because they're all going to share some characteristics like the radius and stuff like that. And then we'll have card avatar. All right, so then inside here is, well, I guess we'll also have a bunch of other things inside of a card. What are we going to call that? These are like, this is a time tracker, so we could just do like time card time, something like that. So let's do card container time cards. And then inside here, we'll have time card. And I guess these should also have a card, right? Yeah. So we'll eventually template this whole thing out, but for now, we just need this, I think, for the actual card avatar itself. So I'll come back this way and report for Jeremy Robson. Now I don't actually have font sizes here. All I have is these images because I didn't pay for like the premium or whatever. So we're going to do a little bit of guessing, but I think we should be able to get kind of close-ish. It looks like 18 pixels, I think, if I remember right, is what they said in the design guide for these. So we can just kind of base everything off that, although that means these would be really small, but maybe. So let's come back this way, and let's say we're going to have an avatar. These are going to be in their own little flex kind of section. So we'll do, let's see, what if we just did card avatar top? It's probably a horrible name, but images. Let's see, we've got images inside here. Image Jeremy, that seems right. We'll do, this is Jeremy, people. Now we know. Then this next section, because this is kind of an H1 because it's what the whole thing is about. So let's do it as an H1 semantically. So report for Jeremy Robson. And I kind of want the whole thing in there, which means what we'll do is style the, like a span inside of here with that report for differently than we would Jeremy Robson. So let's move this up, and I think that should work. And maybe what I can do is also, I think I need a line break in here as well. Okay, so there we go, and we'll style that in a second. Then below this is where we'll have these 3 things, and they should be, I think they should be buttons, because if I'm clicking on them, yeah, I think they should be buttons. So let's do that. How does it look again in the desktop design? Yeah, buttons, that'll work. So they're left aligned. They're in their own little section too. So let's give this something like card avatar. Let's do bottom. All right, that makes sense. Bring all of these up, and then let's grab all of them together and add a button like this, and then let's see, paste it in over here. Okay, so we've got all those 3 buttons, and let's see, should we build out anything else yet? Maybe. Let's just grab all these because this text here is going to be kind of messed up. And let's comment this out. That way we can't see it. Oh, it won't let me comment it out. Okay, we'll just copy it, and then maybe let's just paste it in this time card. And that way, at least when we center everything, it will respond to what we're going to do. All right, so with that said, why don't we go ahead and style out this card, And that will also give us a chance to do some default styling for everything. So I'm going to open back up my CSS file, and let's go ahead and grab, first of all, our container. And I'm going to say that this needs to be display grid and place items center. Or no, we wanted this to be a flex. So let's see, I do need this to be up here though. Display grid, place items center. That should put everything into the very center. This can then be display flex. I guess this would also need to have a height, or min height, of 100 view height, like that. And then it did need some kind of padding. Can we do that on the container? Let's just do it on the body. That's fine. So we'll do something like clamp, and then it looked like maybe. So I guess the desktop isn't going to super matter. So let's not overcomplicate this. So we'll do padding like 2 rem, something like that. Here's my mobile design. That's probably a little too much. So maybe 1 rem around the sides. All right, that should work. Okay, next, this is display flex, and see, eventually we do want this to flex wrap of wrap to kind of wrap below, and it should go ahead and do that now, because again, we're kind of styling this for mobile to start with. And let me pull this up and actually switch it to mobile, and we'll snap it to this 320. All right, so there we go. Let's set some kind of gap on here, which should work for all modern browsers. Let's do something like 2 rem to start with. That looks too much. So looks like maybe it's 1 rem, and then it gets to 2 rem. So maybe now we do need to use the clamp. So let's do clamp, and we'll do 1 rem, and then something, and then 2 rem for the largest. And I'm trying to think exactly. Let's see, maybe, let's see, open props has some stuff. Open props. So let's come in here and look at that. Open props. That's not right. Here we go. Style open props. What are their font things? Fluid font sizes. Here we go. Oh, I guess I need spacing though. So let's see. Isn't it across the bottom here, I think? Sizes maybe? Here we go, down here. Okay, so they've got something like this. 1.5 to 2. So 2 view. How about we do something like 2.5 view width then? Rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, we'll just use what they've got. Okay, so back here. Here we go. So that should dynamically respond this gap then as we get the viewport a little bit bigger. You can see the gap between here is what we're looking at. It should just get a little bit bigger as that viewport changes. We're obviously not making it a huge change, but maybe we change this to 3 just so it, I guess I can see it a little bit better there perhaps, but it's going to try to be this 3 view width. It will never get smaller than this, and it will never get larger than the 2 rem. All right, so with that in place, let's go ahead and grab our card, and this is what we'll apply to all the cards, and we'll set a border radius on here. And I'm trying to think, is there a way for us, let's first of all spell this correctly, radius. Is there a way for us to dynamically set this based on the font size? Does it change too between these two? Not really. So let's just do something like 2 rem and see what that looks like. Background. Let's see. Why is that image suddenly getting that? Did I give that a class of card? Or maybe it was already like that and I just forgot. Okay, maybe it was. So we'll do background color. And here's where I think I'm going to use something a little bit more dynamic. I guess all of these. Let me think how to do this. They're kind of the same. Well, let's keep this pretty simple because these will have to template out a bit more. This one, all I'm worrying about is the actual border radius. And that's honestly probably about the only thing that's useful to add on this card. So maybe it wasn't great to have this as its own class, but I think it's fine. Let's do, come back down here, and just so we can see it, let's say white. And that's probably a little too much, so let's just stick to a 1 rem. Yeah, that's close enough, I think. Okay. So we'll get rid of that. Come back to our index.html page, and let's now style this card avatar. We'll have 2 sections on it. I'm trying to think exactly how to do this. So I guess the whole background of the card, if it's this color, that should work. So maybe this will work. So I'll set the background of the color to that darker purple. Let's get rid of this too. And let's come back to our style sheet. So this neutral 2 perhaps. So here's where I think, yeah, let's template this out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is like templating for cards or something. And down here, what we'll have is like a background. And by default, I'll point this to my neutral 3. Or, yeah, I think that should work. So we'll do neutral 3. And then all I have to do is come down here to my card. And we'll say var, background color. And this will be my neutral, var neutral, or no, background, because that's the whole point of templating it. All right, so there we go. That looks way too dark. I'm not sure what that color is for. So maybe it's a text color. I guess it's this neutral 2. Isn't that what I pointed to the wrong one. There we go. So I think that's the right background color as the default for all these. And then we can just update this when we need to inside of cards. So let's grab that card avatar class now. And let's actually style this one out. See, I guess they all have the same padding as well around them. But we'll have to do those inside the different sections. So we won't worry about that for now. So for now, what I'm going to do is grab the card avatar itself. This one, I'm going to have, it looks like double the height on mobile for that purple section. And then if I remember right for the desktop, yeah, it just flexes to fit the entire container. So I guess it's always stacked like that. It's just whether or not these things are wrapped and whether or not this is wrapped. So let's set the inside of this thing to a wrap. And it looks like maybe it's stuck to the top too. So, all right, so let's start just by styling the card avatar with a display of, I guess, display flex. And then we'll do, it's always going to be, these two sections are always going to be stacked on each other. I think, right? Let's come over here. So yeah, they'll be stacked that way and they'll be stacked this way. So if we do display flex, we need to do flex direction of column. And that way they stack up and down, which they already are. So we're set there. And then let's do justify content, space between. So there is between as possible. And then now let's just style the top section and the bottom section separately. So in here, card avatar, let's look at top, and then we'll do the same thing for the bottom here. Down here, and we'll call this bottom. All right, so in here, now that I'm here, let's see, I have control over the background color just by changing that BG. Let's see. So we'll change this to like, that's not gonna help us. Let's change it to maybe like a green so it's super obvious. No, that doesn't help me. All right, so I would need to have this set on the actual card avatar itself to change this. So what I can do instead is just come in here and say background color, and then now we should be able to do that and it changes that. Okay, cool. Let's change this to my avatar though. So that works properly. And I'm not seeing this border radius take effect. And I wonder why that is. This should be card as well, right? So let me come in here. Not totally sure what this is. So, oh, card avatar top doesn't have that. That's right. So I'm actually going to need both of those to have a border radius. So here's what we can do. Maybe we can say any div inside of these, which this isn't great, but it will have that color. Then what I can do is come down here and point my variable BG to var avatar. So what we're doing is basically setting a background color on everything, setting this kind of radius on everything. We'll have to change that in a second. and then just updating the color inside of here when we need to. That means I should be able to come in here as well. Actually, let's go ahead and change these as well. So those should be flex items. And I guess let's justify content center. We'll also align items center like that, and then we'll flex them as children all the way across. But let's go ahead and add a gap here of like 1 rem so they're not touching, which won't matter because they're not going to have a background as far as visually, but like tapping on a mobile screen, I wouldn't want them to tap the wrong thing because they're right next to each other technically. Okay, so those should be set. We'll need to change the background here just like we did up top, and let's change this to like neutral 1, I guess. Does that change anything? Didn't I call that bottom? Card avatar bottom? Because I feel like that should change stuff. So let's come in here, back to the index.html. See, all of this is in the top section here that I incorrectly closed the div on. So there's the culprit. We'll move this here, and then all this here. So no wonder we were getting some funky stuff, because we were doing some funky stuff. So I'll come back here and move this out, and there we go. Okay, so now that's working a little bit more as we'd expect. Let's style out these buttons perhaps to start with. So we'll do card. I guess let's just copy this right here, and then we'll do inside of here any buttons, or maybe can we give these things their own class? Let's do that. So we'll do class. We'll just call this BTN because it's the only one I think on the page we're going to have, and then we can get rid of all this junk and just say BTN. Here we want a background of, actually let's just change the font first of all. So we'll say font inherit, so we'll inherit everything from the body, and then we'll say background just none, and border none, and color will be white for now. That way they show up. Is that what they are? They're white if they're active. So if they're not, they look like they're that kind of muted color. So let me come down into here, and let's change that around. So we'll say this needs to be var neutral, maybe 2. That's a little too dark. 3, 4. I feel like 4 has a chance. I mean, maybe. Let's go back to 3. This is where, you know, you wish, yeah, I think that's better. This is where you wish you actually had the color it's supposed to be in here. So then what we'll do is grab all this and say that whenever the button has a class of active, which I think is what we'll call it, then we'll just change this color here to white. And just to make sure we can actually see it, let's add active to one of these. So come in here and just call this active. All right, so there we go. We'll leave that there for now. The other thing I need for these things, let's actually move this just so we can see it, is let's make sure that these are flex 1, 0. I guess I don't really want them to shrink. And then we'll do 100%. So in other words, percent. Okay, that way they should flex out. I guess they are going to need to shrink. Yeah, okay, so there they go. They should flex out. The other thing is, if I focus on these, like with the keyboard, I want there to be some kind of style that reflects everything else. So maybe let's also add a border radius here of like 0.5 rem. There we go. So that way they're kind of pill shaped. Do padding of like 0.2 rem and 0.8 rem. Now they're stacked up just a little bit more, easier to tap. Let's set this to something more like 0.5 rem. That way they can be kind of close, and they don't have to space the card out quite as much. I think that should work. Obviously, we're going to remove this background here, and then we'll give this whole section here a little more padding. So we'll say padding, let's do like 0.5 rem, how about 1 rem, and 0.5 rem. We're going to eventually stretch this out based on kind of the viewport height. But if we come back in here, I also need this section to be a different neutral color. So neutral 3, neutral 2, I think maybe. That looks right. And then what I can do is change the border radius. So border radius, let's say 0, 0, and then 1 rem, 1 rem. And that way we'll just update it as need be. Let's see, that doesn't seem to be working. It may just be, it shouldn't have more specificity. Border radius. Pretty sure that's how that works. Let's set it something like 0, 0, and like 5 rem. Weird. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Because we set it where? Right here? I think maybe this has... Let's just overwrite the ones that we need nothing on. So let's do border top and just set this to 0. Border radius top or something, right? Border radius, top left radius, border radius, top left, sure. And we'll do 0. Still doing nothing. Is it a specificity problem? If it is, then I guess we don't really need this at all. We can just set this individually when we need it. So what we can do is say bottom left radius, and we'll set this to 1 rem, and then we'll do bottom right radius to 1 m. That means probably the other thing we should do then is have some kind of common class that we can use for all these. So like card bottom or something like that. But I guess if all the other ones are going to share the same class, it's not a huge deal. So we'll come in here, and I guess for this one, we do want border radius on everything of 1 rem because it should be even there in the center the same way. All right, so that bottom section should work. Now the entire card needs this background color, whatever the backdrop is. So let's go ahead and set that, this BG, as so anything with a card, any divs inside of that, let's also then set the background color on this, right? I think. All right, so this will be our var of neutral, what was it, 3? Nope, 2. There we go. And then here, I'm making a mess of this one now. Border radius, we'll do 1 rem everywhere. Okay, so I think that works. And even if it's a little bit messy, I think that should work. And maybe actually, let's set this whole thing on the card as well. So the card like that. I think that should work. All right, so what we're doing is setting global styles for the card, global styles for any divs inside the card, and then we can update colors as we need to down below. And I think what we'll do is set this also. Let me go ahead and first of all copy this so I can use it down below. But let's also set this to my BG, and then I can just update it where I need it to be updated. So, see, does that actually work? I think that might actually work anyhow. All right, I think that works. Maybe I set that to neutral too. I did. Okay, cool. All right, next let's work on the avatar itself. We have an image inside that avatar. I like to give those things classes when possible. So let's go ahead and do this. So we'll do class avatar, and we'll just use that simple class of avatar. Let's just grab it right here. We'll say like max width of, I don't know, let's do like 2 rem. That's gonna be way small. 6 rem, 5 rem, I don't know. Let's do 4. I'll do 3 rem. Maybe this can be another clamp property here. Let's come back and here we go. Let's grab one of these. This 6 maybe. This is where using something like open props is super helpful. And I should have probably mentioned that open props is essentially like a kind of a frameworking tool Let's see where we at. There we are. Okay. It's essentially a frameworking tool that you can use, and it's built by Adam Argyle and maintained by him. Let's change this to a little bit smaller to start with. There we go. And so it has a lot of nice defaults. So occasionally I will steal stuff from them because, well, I want to. We'll grab our border here of 0.5 rem maybe, and solid white. And we'll have border radius of, I can't spell radius correctly ever. My I just gets hit way before the D. Something with that, the way I type. Border radius of 100 view width, so it's always going to be a perfect circle. And maybe here we say 0.2 rem, something like that. I don't know, it might change some between the two, so as far as desktop or mobile, so we'll figure that out. All right, card avatar top, we've got the two sections here, so let's set these across as a display flex, and then whoa, we'll also make sure that this has an aspect ratio of 1/1, and that did not help anything. So maybe let's bring this down here, and that way we just kind of keep stuff in order as it is in the DOM. And I was thinking that should work, but I guess we also need object fit of cover, I guess, and then object, well, really what we need to do is just set this to flex of 1/1 and like 20% or something. And then same thing for this H1. Let's actually style this. So we'll have a default font size based on whatever it should be here. I mean, that doesn't look like much more than maybe font size 18. Font size 18 pixels. There we go. And now that flexes out. Let's also grab this, and we'll make this something like 50%. That way it takes up most of the space. I also then am going to need some padding here. So we'll do padding of 1 rem all the way around. And then let's give this thing a gap as well. So we'll say gap of 1 rem. We also need align item center to vertically align them. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Now it does not have any kind of bold, so let's make sure we remove that. Let's see, let's come in here and say font weight will be just like the, was it 300 maybe even? Yeah, I think so. And then here, that report for is going to be smaller. So come in here H1 and say whenever there's a span as the direct child, we can change the font size here to, let's do something like 12 pixels. I'm not sure why I did pixels here. Let's do like 1.2 rem, and same thing here. So we'll do 0.7 rem. And I realize we're kind of guessing at magic numbers, but I don't have the design, so it's the best I'm going to do. We'll come back in here then, and let's see, that's supposed to be white. So maybe, let's see. Let's do the same kind of templating. So I'll come up here for my color, and we'll point this to another variable that will template called like text. And by default, we'll point this to white. So white, and then that means this can just be changed over to var of text. It means then when I come down below here to these buttons, what I can do is update, and I wouldn't do this for a whole site, but I don't mind it for something like this. I can come down here to my, what do I call that, text, like that? No? Text? What was that? TXT, yeah. Where is that? Okay, here we go. Just inside here for this button, I should be able to change this to a different color. Right? Well, it doesn't think so. I should be able to update this inside of here, right? Inside this class, I'm going to just update this variable, txt, to a different color. I mean, that is literally what I'm doing right here. Neutral 1. Let's set this to my green color. Weird. Oh, you know what? It might be because it's a button and it's inheriting some stuff, perhaps. I'm not sure. But either way, we'll just not worry about it there and just use that color property elsewhere. And if I can figure out what I did wrong, we'll change that too. Where's my H1? H1. All right, here we go. So we'll update the text to var of, let's do neutral 2. So it's not working there either. Well, maybe you can't do it like that. Okay, well, let's get rid of that idea. Come back in here, and we'll just say white. All right, back to where we started, like nothing horrible ever happened. Back down to the bottom here. H1, right in here, we'll say color var neutral 2. And that doesn't work. Neutral 4 maybe. Neutral 3. I think that might be it, although that's really hard to see. Maybe it's a neutral 4. It's hard to have a clue. Again, I don't have the design file, so I am guessing for sure on magic numbers, but I think that's pretty close to where we're at. All right, so now if I come in here, the other thing I want to work on is some kind of focus state for these. So for right now, let's go ahead and just, let's get these tabbed over. And you can see I got kind of a nasty focus state. So let's clean that up a bit. So I'll come in here to my button itself. And do I have any kind of, let's look at the active states. It doesn't look like the active states change at all. It looks like in addition to adding this active class, I also need to say whenever it has a hover. So let's just use the where selector, not white, the where selector like this, and then wrap inside here whenever it's either has a class of active or it's a hover, then I'll change that. So I should be able to come in here now and hover, and the same thing happens. I guess the other thing I need is a cursor pointer. And that way when I come in here, I get this nice cursor. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and add a transition. We'll do, let's point this to a transition. Yeah, I think that works. So let me grab this right here. And let's jump back up top. And again, we'll just kind of template these things out so that we can change them in one location and everything will update for us. So we'll do like 200 milliseconds ease in and out. And then I'll set this just on whatever it happens to be down below. So let's do that. Let's see. So we'll do, I guess, just color like that. There we go. Okay. Back to the thing we were supposed to be doing, which was adding some hover states. And it looks like I copied this down and then never did anything with it. So let me go ahead and grab this and bring it down this way. And we'll say button. And in this case, we'll do another where selector. So this has 0 specificity by default, so we can easily overwrite it later if we need to. But what we'll do is just say that whenever this is, I guess, focus, let's just do focus, because all I want to do is say outline none, which means if I tab, you can't see that I've selected that. So it's important for us to change this out. Let's also say that whenever this is focus within, that it changes white. So as I focus inside of this, you can see now that should change for me. But I also want to add some other stuff. So let's have the button itself. Do I have a background color on here? I have a background of none. Let's do a background of inherit. I think that should pull in the body, or the button itself, whatever its parent is, the card itself. So that means we should be able to also add some kind of styling behind this. So let's do a cool animation. All right, I kind of feel like a cool animation. Let's do that. So I'm going to have a box shadow here, and we'll add 2 box shadows. So let's just go ahead and space it out so it's a little easier to see. So I'm going to have 0, 0, 0. So no left, no right, no blur, but I do want it to be offset. And for now, we're going to do like 0.2, negative 0.2. Let's do negative 0.5 rem, something like that. And then what I want is my color the same as the background. So let's do var background, whatever that happens to be here. And then I'll go ahead and copy this and do it down here with a comma in between. And we'll do the same thing, that's fine. Except in this case, what I want is neutral, like 1, 2, something like that. Or maybe we should do is use our avatar color because that stands out quite a bit. Then what we'll do is, so we've got this color transition. Maybe we should break out the speed from the, what is it called? Timing property, I think. We'll set this box shadow here. So in other words, we're going to have two different transitions, one on the box shadow and one on the color. And I'm just breaking it out like this so it's a little easier to see. And then I guess we can just pull this up. All right, so right now we've got no box shadow that's going to be down below, but when I focus on it now in the future, and actually I'm going to use the focus within, so it won't work on mobile. Focus within. When you're tapping it, it'll just work. Do I want it to work on mobile? I guess maybe I do, but if you've tapped it on mobile, you know you're there. So I really only need it to be visible if you're tabbing to it. So what I can do is change the box shadow here for both of these, and let's see. What we'll do is just update where these are. So this one will be something like 0.2 rem, and this one will be something like 0.8 rem. So here's what we're trying to get to. See how it kind of pops out like that? That's a fun animation, right? That's way too big. So let's change this to something more like this. And by having this internal kind of section around this background, it sets it apart a little bit, moves it outside the button. And I like that. I think that looks decent. So let's say that that's good. All right. Maybe let's actually update the timing property and do our own little custom thing. So let's come in here to my button. Color. Doesn't like that. Where have I overwritten that? Oh, it's because it's got the active state. Okay. Let's come inside here. Transition. Let's give this a little snappier. So it kind of goes past the point of no return and then snaps back. And then we can update our transition. Let's see. Why don't we do this? We'll do ease, because I pretty much always do ease in and out if I do that. And then we'll do snap or something like that. Snap. All right. And then we'll change this out here. And for the timing, maybe we'll just set that as time, 200 milliseconds. That way we can kind of template these out as we need them, and we can change them out. So let's come back to our transitions down this way. And now what it can do is grab this time, and then we'll do var. For the box shadow, we'll do snap. And then let's do the same thing here on the color. And I'll just go ahead and copy this down. See color. And then here, instead of snap, we will have ease, I think is what it was. All right, so if we did that correctly, now these hover states, let's get rid of this, should be kind of slow to go in here, whereas these things should kind of snap, go past, and come back. That's a little more snappy. I don't know if you can even see that. I think maybe let's just call that good. Okay, so we got that mostly set. Again, let's just work on the mobile for now. With our cards, let's go ahead and get one of these set up so we can actually use it, and then we'll style it out and just switch things out. So I've got a few different things. That's active state for the entire card. Doesn't look like the background changes, just this section here. So let me come into my mobile design, and these are stacked next to each other. Those are snapped up and down. So I guess we can just start with them as flex and not wrap them, and then wrap them on desktop. I think that should work. So for now, let's just worry about the mobile. So here we go. We've got this background color. We're going to update this to be that orange color. And then it's a little bit different in the sense that the top and the bottom are going to be separate. So we'll just do card top and card bottom, I think. And then these little dots, I don't know what they do. Do they do anything? So they change white, but I don't think they're actually interactive. Those will be buttons themselves, I guess. So let's stack those next to each other. They'll always be like that. So this will be one flex container. This will be another flex container. Right? Yeah, that should work. Okay. Excuse the talking out loud. It is necessary. We'll call this time card. And then what we can do is the time card will be the thing we update separately. So we'll say time card 1. Or do these have names? We'll just call this work. And that way we can keep it all separate. All right, so in here we're going to have two separate things. We'll have work itself. This should be this H2 because it's kind of the next section. So it's next section header. So work should be that H2. And then next to this, I guess, again, this needs to be its own container. So we'll call this time card. Ooh, let's see here. Because we got that top section is actually, yeah. So we'll do time card top. These dashes are getting all out of hand. They're different everywhere I've done them. I'm writing HTML. That's right. Paste back in this H2. Because technically this would be the bottom. Because the top is going to be that orange section at the very top here. So, or maybe what we do is just call that the time card background. I don't. Let's leave it like this. This is fine. So bottom like that, and then these will also need to be in their own little container. So we'll do like time card title, and this will have that H2 in it, and our button. So even though it's not like a button we can actually hover over, let's go ahead and just add this as a button here. Or like it's not like we can't hover it over. We can't do anything with it. I don't know what we're supposed to do with it. I'm assuming we've got an SVG somewhere. Let's check. Images, favicon, ellipsis. Is that what this is? I don't know. It's got a chance. Let's see what this does. Yep, there we go. Okay, cool. So that's what we'll use, and let's set this to current. Oops, let's set this to current color, and that way we can update it with the color of the actual the button itself. Which by default it should work the same as all these. So I should be able to hover. Yeah. So since we've already got that set, I'll even have the focus state on it as well. Maybe. Nope. So we'll have to play around with that focus state. All right, but at least we've got that button set. That's good. And next, let's come down below this title right here, and we'll add another section, and we'll do time card, like amount, something like that. And this will have two sections as well. It'll have the hours or current and the previous, basically, right? So we'll have this. Let's just make this a paragraph, the class of current, and for now, we will pull in these 5 hours, and then previous will be 7 hours. So here's where we're having to adjust between daily and weekly. This is where it'd be really nice if we were actually pulling this in live, so we could just query the right data where we need to. So maybe let's just leave it at this now. I don't know that I'm going to have time with what I've got left today to do all of this. So let's just get the styling done, and then maybe we can come back and do the JavaScript. We'll see. All right, so we've got the 7 hours, the 5 hours set out there. Let me go ahead and pull all of this out, and let's just add it. Let's awkwardly add it to the bottom of the README so we can find it later when we need it, if I can remember that I put it there. All right, so there we go. These things are set. We've got a little bit of styling to do. This is right here. Let's see, how did I get all this off? Let's move this in. This needs to be, let's see, how's that set up? Just want to get this a little more even. This is right here. Why did I put this inside of a div? This should be a button. So this is good here. Spaced out evenly here. Time card. Button there. Maybe these all need to be moved. All right. We'll figure that out later. For now, let's see. Is there anything else I need to add? Here, I don't think so. Last week, 36 hours. So since we're doing daily, I think, with this. Is that what these were? So daily. So previous. What was that supposed to say? Let's go back to the README. And where was that paragraph I had to pause to read a second ago? Oh boy. For daily, it should read yesterday dash 2 hours. Okay, weekly should be last week. All right, so we can do that. So let's come in here and say yesterday, and I'm guessing that's like an M dash maybe, 7 hours. All right, back to my active states one more time. Last week, dash 36 hours. I don't really like that dash. I think I'd rather it be one of these little dots like that. So let's change it. Okay, so with that set, let's go ahead and just style out this card. Now it's a work card, so we're gonna have to change everything based on that. But for now, we should be able to at least come in here and set up some basic default stylings. Let's close the sidebar, and where is my card? Right here. So already I'm giving the div background here. I can update that as needed. Card avatar. Let's, I guess, come, is there a bottom? So right here. So let's call this, let's see, what was that? Time card. So time card, like that. And then I guess let's also get these things closer together. I mean, they will eventually anyhow, but see, they are all in this card container, right? So justify content. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Center. This needs to be a flex direction of column to start with. Maybe, is it separating out these two things? Let's check out HTML that's actually being rendered and see what's going on. So I got these two sections. Let me pull this up a touch. So container, time cards. Oh, so this time cards is supposed to be inside here. So that's the first mistake. So I think maybe that will actually fix everything. Maybe that was our problem earlier too. So I'm going to grab all of these here. And now I just have the container. This is my container right here, right? Inside here, I'll paste all this. And now they should be stuck next to each other, maybe. Yeah, okay, there we go. That's what I wanted. Let's, however, why don't we just come in here and tell it to format the document? Are we going to regret this terribly? Well, it did nothing, so thanks a lot. All right, so we'll move all this in later. I don't want to spend all my time formatting the HTML when my prettier should take care of that. But let's come back in here then now, and we've got our card down here somewhere. Time card, here we go. So this time card, we're going to update the background color. I guess based on, this is our work one, so we can change this to var of orange. Like that. Now the background should update to that. Cool. I should also, because this is a card, it should also be giving me these rounded corners, right? How did I set that up? Let's come back up top here. The top and the bottom sections are a little bit different. Border radius, okay. So here's where I should probably break this out. We'll do card bottom like this and grab this. And again, this is kind of messy, but this is how stuff starts, and then you can always adjust stuff as you need to. Let's also actually pull the padding because they should be the same. And I think all that we'll keep separate. And then where's the card top? So border radius 1 rem all the way around and padding 1 rem. Let's grab those as well. And this is getting real messy. Let's just add this up top, I guess. So we'll do card top, and we'll do border radius, and then padding of 1 rem as well. All right, so now what I have to do is add card top and card bottom to all of those sections. So let's do that. I'll come back over here, and here I also want to add card top. Oops, like that. And then down here I want to add card bottom. And then let's do the same thing here. So this will be, weirdly enough, maybe I should have done small and not small or whatever, but this one should be card bottom. And Yeah, let's change this around. Let's do small, small, and we'll do large. And then if I come back over this way, once again, let's adjust this. So we'll say card small, or no, this is the large. So whatever's the largest one out of the two. And then this one will be card small, the smallest one out of the two. All right, and then come back over here. I already added those, so those are styled correctly. Let's now come inside here though. That's card small, and this should be card bottom. No, large. And this, I think, has a double dash. Okay, cool. Stuff is working. Now I also might need to, I guess I need to account for the direction as well. Maybe we're making too much work for ourselves. So, well, we can say, I think we can adjust one thing. So this card's small. If it always needs that padding, but let's go ahead and copy this down and basically say, if it's inside, let's see, what did I just do? Yeah. We'll say if it's inside the card avatar, then we'll set it like that. Otherwise, if it's inside the card, oh, what did we call that again? Time card? Time card. Then we will set this to be the opposite. So this will be top on both of these. All right, so I think that will work. We also need to update the color of the time card itself, but we can do that in a second. Okay, so now it should be, the border radius itself should be correct where it comes in like this. All right, all that said, we've got the card small time card. The other thing we should do for that, if it's inside the time card, because this is that top little section, is we should make this position of relative, because it will have that position absolute item up here. At least I think that's how I'm going to do that. That little icon that shows. And can I do that with customs with CSS variables? I don't know that I can. Let's figure that out in a second. For now, let's get the styling of this bottom section correct, and that will be a good starting point for us. So that would be card large. So now that I've got all these sections in different spots, card small, let's grab the card large and at least put it next to the other ones. So I'll bring this in down here, and card small, let's do card large right here. So card large, let's update whenever, yeah, whenever this is inside of a time card, we're going to update the color. So background will now be var neutral 2. I think. Okay, there we go. I think that's correct. Let's come back over here. That looks right to me. Now the whole thing, is the whole thing a button? No, so I've got a focus state. I'm not sure what it's supposed to do when you click on it. I mean, I guess we can just put a hover state on the whole thing for no reason. But I'm assuming you're supposed to do something with it when you click it. Like, does it flip around or something? And is it different than the actual button itself? That little 3 dots? Who knows? All right, maybe if I took time to read every single thing in the README, we could figure out, but let's just do whatever we feel like. That feels like the right thing to me. So let me come back here to the styling, and let's also grab the time cards themselves, which are down somewhere. Let's do time card, and we'll say cursor of pointer for no reason, and then time card. Whenever there's a hover state, we want this to be, I guess what we want is the background. No, we got to do this on the large section. So we'll just set that to time card. Actually, we don't need that either. We can do all this in that large section. So back up here, cursor pointer, and then we'll also say that whenever this is the case, whenever the large card is hovered, then we will update the background to be like neutral 3 or whatever that was supposed to be. That seems very intense. 4, even more intense. Maybe back to 1. No, that's dark. All right, what is this supposed to be? This lighter color. Well, maybe this is the 3. Sure doesn't seem right. That's the same color. All right, where are my colors? It's got to be one of these, right? Maybe it changes to this avatar color. Maybe it's just more opaque. Because that neutral 3 seems way too intense. So let's just change the opacity. All right, back to where we were at. Whenever it is, let's look for the hover. Hover, right here. We'll just do opacity of like 0.8. Oh, rem, 0.8, rem, 0.8 like that. Oh boy, that's not what I wanted at all. So if this is really is a custom color, let's change it to this 3 and just, man, that's so light. But that, I don't think they've given me a color that works with that. Well, you know what? I think this hover state's stupid. So we're not doing that anyhow. Yeah, we'll just do it on that button because that's what it really should be. Now I'm getting both of these on clicking, which is also a little odd. So let's fix that quickly. So whenever this is focus within, not focus within, focus visible, like that. Now I shouldn't get it on click. There we go, just on tabbing. All right, back to what we were doing, this time card section here. We've got the card small. What did I call the time card bottom? Time card title, here we go. So time card title. And let's see this incredibly unorganized HTML we've got going on. Card avatar bottom. This should be way up top with everything else. So let's bring this up top. Card avatar right here. And then let's see, down right here. I had this on my clipboard, the title. And maybe let's do all this up top and then just adjust items down below for like the work card and all those kinds of things. So for this title section, I want this to be display flex. So it should be snapping across and then justify items center, or no, not items. Let's do justify content, space between. And we'll do align items center so that they're vertically aligned. And we'll make sure that the width is 100%. Right. What is going on here? Well, let's come inside here. This button, oh, it's taking up that full flex amount. I forgot. So let's make one more adjustment. We'll say whenever there's a time card title with a button inside, then I want the flex to be 0, 1, and 0%. It shouldn't stretch all the way across. Okay. And I also don't need this. I don't think. Yeah. Let's grab, since we're only going to have H2s here, I'll just grab them at kind of the root level. And we'll change the font size here to like 0.8 rem. It looked pretty small at least. That might be a little small. Maybe just make this 1 rem. And we'll do font weight at, I think, 3, 4, and 500, maybe the 400. That looks close-ish. Okay, so I think that works. Now these two sections we called time card bottom, I think. So let me grab that. So we'll do time card bottom. Is that right? Let's come back over here. Time card bottom. Man, these double dashes and single dashes are killing me. I have not been consistent at all today in this. Time card amount. Yeah, so this we'll space these things out just using this section. So, or using this class. So time card bottom. Here we'll make this a grid with a gap of like 2 rem. Space it out something like that. Maybe 1 rem. We can even use a clamp. We have another clamp somewhere, I think. It's a little too big. So let's come back here to the first clamp and copy this. And where is the section I just had open? card avatar title bottom, maybe. Time, let's see, double dash bottom somewhere. Time card bottom, here we go. So let's set this as the gap. So 1 and then up to 2 rem. And maybe we can change this and make it a little bit bigger on desktop. All right, and then let's do the bottom section. So we've done the title, and then I think the other thing we called it was a mount. Let's check it out and see if that works. Mount, yeah. Okay, so that spaces those things out. And on mobile, let's open back up the mobile. Yeah, so on mobile it is spaced out like that. These would just be smaller. Looks like they're not that spaced out. So that gap might be a little bit too big that we did. So style, and we'll come back in here and let's do something like 0.5 up to 2 and make this 2. And obviously I would want to get a little bit more precise on some of these, but I think that should work for now. Time card amount, and that should work on mobile, right? That's how we want them. I just want the text itself to be a little bit larger. So let's come back to my index.html, see what that is. So I have time card amount, and I've got current and previous. So let's grab those. So we'll say current inside, or maybe just right here. So we'll do font size of like 1.3 rem, maybe a little bit more than that even, 1.5 rem. And we'll do font weight. And I think this wasn't that high. Yeah, so I think this would be more like that 300. And then it looks like we've got that opaque color for the previous. So let's copy this down and we'll call this previous. And this will be much smaller. So we'll maybe do our 0.8, something like that. And that font weight should work. Let's now say that the color should be neutral 3, maybe. Does that look kind of close? Kind of. It looks like maybe I got the colors off for both of those, though. They should be the brighter of the two. So let's come back here to our button. Let's change this to neutral 4 and do the same thing on our button. Neutral 4, and I think those make those both a little brighter. I think that should be right. All right. Also, let's see. Let's come into this previous, not this previous title, the amount right here. These align items center. They don't look centered to me, but it says they are. So maybe they are, and I'm just not seeing it. Yep, looks like they are. It just doesn't look right to me. All right, so let's come back to this mobile design. That mostly looks right. Sure looks like that text needs to be maybe a touch bigger. I don't want to spend forever just like slowly tweaking this stuff because, you know, I don't really know what it is because I don't have the design file, but maybe something like that should work. All right, so the last thing I think we need to do then is just set up that icon on the back. And here's where I was wondering if templating might work for us. So let's come into our images and icon work SVG. And in this case, I think, so I want to kind of dynamically adjust. Maybe let's not overcomplicate this and just reference it in the HTML and kind of go from there. So I think that's what we'll do. So let me come back here. And what I'm wanting is in this time card, the small section right here. Let's also call this time card top. Time card top with 2 dashes for some reason now. We'll do our images and look inside our images here, and we'll look for something with work. We'll call this like, actually we don't need an alt because I'm gonna just remove this. So we'll say aria hidden equals true. That probably reminds me as well that on this SVG, this should be aria hidden equals true. And then let's give this thing an aria label, and we're going to call this interactive button. I have no idea what it does, so that's as good as I can do. All right, let's give this thing a class. So we'll call this just icon maybe. And then what I can do is come in here to my style sheet. We already had that top section, made sure that it was relative right here. Time card small is what I called it. So let's just change this out for that new class I added, which I already forgot. Time card top. So time card top. All right, and that should work. Yeah, I think that works fine. Why is this? Is that right? I just duplicated that for no reason? Sure looks like it. All right, well, let's go back to where we had it then, like this. We do want that to be position of relative. And since I've already got it set there, that should work for me. Let's come in here now to my icon. And let's make this position of absolute. There we go. And then I think I can just put this with like a z index of like -1. That puts it behind everything. We'll do top 0, right 0. Maybe let's do this a little bit differently. So that should be in that spot. Let's look at the mobile here again. Close the sidebar. So it's just turned. It's actually up a little bit, so we'll do like -0.5 rem. There we go. And then is it off? Yeah, it's off from the side, so maybe like 1 rem. 0.8 rem. Again, we're just kind of guessing at numbers now, but so there's 2 ways I think we can move this. There is something you can use. I forget exactly what it is, but it will basically cap this. I think it's called isolation, maybe? Isolation, isolate. And it should, maybe, if I set this as like z index -1, 2. I forget exactly how this isolate works. So isolate will turn the element into a stacking context. SVG, it defines whether an element is isolated or not. Okay. So maybe that SVG is what's throwing it off. I think the other thing we could do is make sure that that's in the back, like that. And then with that as a z index -1, I can set this as z index 0. No. I'm not thinking clearly about, oh, I still have this isolate on. Let's take this off. Nope, didn't work. All right, let's just forget that. We'll come into this bottom section, and I think the easiest thing will just be to say position relative, and then that should take care of it. The other thing I should be able to do is say on this top time card, right, overflow of hidden. Okay, I think that's mostly good. Let's come back to our mobile design. It might be a little bit big, but I'm just going to use whatever they gave me on the size and not worry too much about it. Okay, we'll maybe put this up so that it's at least even between the two. All right, let's go ahead now and do the rest of them. And the only thing we'll have to change is basically what color is shown. So right here. So we'll copy these down and update these according to whatever they're supposed to be. So we've got play, study, exercise, social, and self-care. So we'll call this play, study. What was it? Exercise, social, and self-care. Did I get all those right? We'll do self-care like that. Maybe. Play, study, exercise, social, and self-care. Whoa. All right. I'll take it. Let's also go ahead and update the colors. So we'll do our blue, red, green, purple, yellow. So blue, or cyan, I guess. I think. Blue. Now I forgot. Red, green, purple, yellow. Green, purple, and yellow. All right, so now as we add these in the HTML, everything should just update for us. So let me zoom out just a touch to make sure that we can see exactly what we're doing here. And I've got this time card top, time card work. This is the wrapper. All right, and I think it goes down to, let's see. Let me collapse this. Okay. So what I want is to move all this in, and then what I want to do is duplicate this down. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to change this to play. There we go. So second one, and now I'm getting that cyan color, which is what I want. I'll also need to space these out a little bit, but we can update that as we need to. For now, let's just go ahead and update this name to play, like that. And then we also have to switch around the icon. So let's point this to play. And now that looks great. Cool. We'll do the same thing on these next ones. So let's copy this down 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times. I can't remember exactly. So the next one was going to be study. So let me close these out as I finish them. Container, time card work. Let's close that one down. Time card play, close that one down. So this is study, which means I should change this to study and this to say study. And obviously the text itself, like the hours and all that, is not updated yet, but everything else should be working. And now I'll close this one down. And the next one is something. Let's see, exercise. Like that. I can spell, maybe. All right, exercise. Let's just make sure that these are the same. I can't spell. Okay, so this is S. That's one of those words that I've always messed up. And one of these days I'll care enough to actually learn it properly. But for now, I'll just publicly fail on it, and maybe that will energize me. Exercise, like that. And then let's close this one down. And then I think we had 2 more, right? So we have social. And while I'm in here, let's go ahead and just copy this down like this. And then we'll update this to say social. And this will be social here, social. And then this was self-care. And if I open this up, something about self-care in here, self-care. And this can be self-care. And I think this was like all one word maybe. Nope, 2 words. All right, so if we did that correctly, everything should now be stacked up. Well, that's kind of awkward. That didn't work the way I wanted it to. Self-card, self-care. Okay, cool. So that's all stacked up. Now I just need to separate these using, let's close this down first of all. See, social, self-care. Okay, so let's close this down and separate them with this class right here. So container time cards. Do I have this anywhere yet? No. Let's just look for my container then. And we'll say, actually, I think we can just use the same basic stuff here. So we'll say container time cards. Those should be spaced out, flex, direction, column. I guess they don't really need to be column. They can just be wrapped. Maybe they should be column. All right, we'll do it like that, and then we can adjust that with a media query if we need to. I don't think I'm going to actually get time to do all of that, but let me come in here. You can see that that is mostly as we want the mobile design to look. So yeah, there we go. I say that's pretty close. Now, obviously, we haven't done any JavaScript yet, and these are maybe a little bit too far spaced out, but I think that's just because my viewport width, because I have that as a clamp. So that looks a little bit better already. So that looks pretty good to me as far as the actual design of everything. Now, if we want to update the buttons here, let's see, these, I think I actually do need to change these neutrals back. So let me come back down to my buttons. And this needs to be neutral 3, I think. Yeah, and then I can change the buttons inside of the time cards. So we'll do time card button, and here we'll say that the color needs to be var neutral 4, and that should allow my icons to go back to whatever this color is here, so a little bit of a lighter color. And if I come over here, do they switch? They do not. So let's forget this. I think it's fine if those 3 dots are a little bit darker. I don't think you can really tell that focus state works. I'm not going to change the focus state in the card because, as we already discussed, I think it looks dumb, so we're not going to do that. We'll come back to the mobile design, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. Now, we've got a couple things we can do. We can either worry about getting this all set up on desktop, or we could do the JavaScript. I don't think we can do both. I mean, the easiest thing to do would just be to have all this stuff already rendered to the DOM and then just hide or show it, but that's not super dynamic. So it'd be better to probably fetch this and parse through it. Let's see, the timing I think I have, because my kids are about to get up. We're kind of already up against it a little bit. So maybe let's just very quickly get a basic desktop view up. Let me pull up the desktop design to start with. And let's just make sure that it stretches properly when it needs to. So I'm going to come back up top here. We'll look at our container, and let's set a little media query here. So we'll do media, screen, actually, and media only and screen. Is that how that works? Let's just check it up. I forget. Media query, syntax. I don't remember this stuff. Why would I try to remember this when I can look it up quickly? I don't do this a ton. Anyhow, all right, so here we go. There we go. Media screen and. Just like that. So we'll say the min width, it'd be 480. And what we'll do is say here that the container should be moved to flex direction of row. And let's close this down. Whoa, there we go. That's what we want. And we'll do the same thing here for both the container and the container time cards. Does that even help? No, because it wasn't in the first place. But what we can do, at that point, what I would want is for this to take up a larger amount. So I can say flex basis maybe, or let's do flex 1.1 and then like 40%. Okay, so that does take up a larger amount. That's good. But what I actually want is for these to stack next to each other now. So now here, I also need this to be flex direction of row. No. Here, let me think through this. All right, so we've got this section that's going to be stacked over this way. Let me change this to like 30%. Okay. I wonder why this is so centralized. Place item center. That shouldn't set the width of those things. So the width, I think, is being set by one of these. Guess that's what I'm trying to figure out here. Why is this width being set so large? So let me get rid of all of these here. Just delete them here locally. And then now I can see what's causing this. So is it the top section? Nope. The bottom section? Yeah. So something in this bottom section here. Time card title. That's not it. Time card amount. That doesn't seem to be it either. So it must be the actual thing here. So grid. Do I have it stretching all the way across? Well, I don't totally see what this what's going on here. So let's just come back over here. Where's my container? So that works for now. Let's also move this up here and set this to like 20. And then maybe let's grab the container itself and say width. Wait, no, this doesn't work. The container is the wrapper around everything. So what I'm interested in is what the avatar does. So this whole thing should switch to row and wrapping when possible. The avatar itself, let's come back over here. All right, kind of have gotten lost with where I'm at. So card. These time cards now are flex 40%. That's fine. And then these should all be rows. Let's see, that's fine. I just want to set a max width on these. So now I can come in here to these time cards. Okay, I think now I'll come here to these time cards like this. And here's where I'm going to say flex 1.1 and like 20%. And now they should stack up next to each other, maybe. Clearly not, so we'll figure that out. Let's first of all worry about getting the avatar to stretch out properly. So let me come down to my avatar, because really, ideally, I'd want that to fill up the full width anyhow. So what if I just say width 100%? I think that should work. And then if I'm on mobile, like on a smaller screen, that should still work just fine. So these should stretch out. And maybe since this is a flex child, I set this to flex 1, 1, and like 30%. And then that should work fine on these smaller mounts. But when I get larger, let's see, I want that to split itself with this right here. I'm not totally sure why that isn't snapping down. So let's grab this flex container here. If I turn off flex wrap, then it won't wrap. So maybe I also need to do that. So let's do flex wrap of none. No wrap, not none, like that. Okay, so that's a good starting point. Next, this here, see, that should take up 30%, and this should take up 60% or something. Now, why is this so stuck to the center of the screen? I think it's because it only has to take up so much. So let's also set this container to a width of 100%. So just taking up as much as it can, and then we'll set a max width of like 800 pixels or something like that. All right, then what I want is this flex. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. I'll come back to my avatar and set this to like 20%, maybe even 10%, something like that. Then we can come in here on our time cards right here. That would be inside here, each of these time cards. And see, time cards, that's the problem. Time card. All right, maybe you've already seen that. Isn't that a problem? I think time card up top here, flex 20%, 1, 1. Desktop, I should stack them 3 wide. Maybe I make these grids instead for these time cards, and that way I can lay them out on a grid exactly where I want to. So let's just scrap all this, change this to a grid. This doesn't need to be here at all. Neither does that. So that should all work just fine. Now when I come in here to my time cards, I don't need to change this. What I need to do is just set grid template columns, repeat 1, 3, 1, FR. Okay, there we go. Now, somehow, oh, it's because I had to refresh. I lost all that. That's what I was worried about. Okay, so let me come in here and say, let's do 2 FR to start with, and it should stack those up like that. And then what I can do is say that on a smaller screen size, or a slightly larger screen size, maybe 768 pixels, so like a typical iPad or something like that. Let's get rid of all this. And I also don't need this anymore because they're not Flex children, and I don't need to worry about this. All I'm going to do is change the grid template columns here to 3. So maybe that's even a little bit too big. So 2. I also need to adjust that just slightly. So we'll do that, and then we'll call this good. I know it's not quite done, but really this was more about laying it out. I wasn't sure if I would ever get around to the JavaScript, which you don't have to add. You do need to be able to click these and it changes, but maybe we can come back and do that. If you're interested in that, let me know. But I've used this now at the end, seems like more as a layout drill than anything else. All right, so let's come back in here. Let's change this to more like, I don't know, 1024. Oh, that's not gonna help me. All right, something more like that. And now it should snap out that way. The other thing then is maybe what I should do, container time cards. Let's come back to my avatar down here. Let's do like, I don't know, 0%, something like that, 10%. that shouldn't change, I guess. I just need to make this one bigger. So like, let's do 80%. So it takes up most of the space. Oh, that's not a number. And that way, as I get a little bit bigger, it takes up less space, right? Container time cards, that should take up more space over here. I guess this is taking up what it has to take up though. And so maybe we just change this to something more like 1200 pixels. All right, I think that works and gives us a little bit more space. Let's now just adjust for this. And then, like I said, we'll call this section or this video done for now. So top, this is flex. Let's see, as a flex child though, of this card avatar, I want to give this its own flex properties. So I'll say flex 1, 1, and like, I don't know, 80%, something like that. Now it'll take up everything it can. Let's come back over here. How's that stacked? So it's stacked a little bit differently. We obviously would also need to change the size of these items as well and wrap this below. But again, I think we're going to call this good for the sake of the noise that's about to incur upon my life. So here we go. Jeremy Robson. What we'll do is wrap this avatar image up top. So let's come back over here. And this avatar top, I guess what we need to do is say flex wrap on larger screen sizes, right? So let's come to this one right here, and we'll say on this card top, on this larger screen size, we'll add flex wrap of wrap. And that did nothing. Okay, cool. Let's also then jump back into here and just inspect this. So this is what I'm saying, right? So this top section, right? Yeah, so this top section is what I'm saying, flex wrap. Okay, so that's good. Now maybe what I need to do is just set this H1. So let's do that, H1, and we'll say, not the span, but right here, oh, this is set to 50%. So same thing, so H1, let's go back up to my flex wrap. What did I just change? Let's just go back here. So here it is, flex wrap, and let's add this H1 will be flex basis. We'll change this to 100%. Nope. Oh, curse you. I was certain that that was going to fix it for us. So this one, I now have flex basis 100%. Why is that not doing anything? Let's say flex 100%. Huh. Is it being overwritten somewhere? It is in that media query, but so let's go ahead and grab these media queries so that we don't have them being overwritten, and we'll put these at the bottom. Okay, there we go. It was just the way all this was broken out. Let's also go to the avatar right here. And nope, just the actual avatar. Where's that? Right here. The width, that's a little extreme. So let's do like 5.5 maybe. And should we not allow it to grow? I mean, it has to be able to grow. So maybe let's not allow it to grow. Let's do that. And let's say that this needs to be like 4. We'll put this back at 7.5. And what's the desktop look like? That's actually not too far off. We just need to push things to the top. So let's do that now. So we'll say, do I need a media query for this? I don't think so. So what we'll do is say align item center. Maybe I do. So this card avatar top. Let's come back down here, find that. Card avatar top. Here we'll also say align items start. That should put stuff up. And then gap. What does it do if I do gap 0? What's this spacing thing going on here? So it looks like, let's see right here, line item center, line content. I guess I do want it up top, so let's do that. So we'll also do align content start, and then we'll do a gap of like 2 rem. All right, that's obviously not perfect, and I need more padding around it as well. I'm just inside here, so like padding of like, I don't know, 4 rem and 2 rem, something like that. It would eventually space it out a little bit better. Do 1 rem on the sides, something like that. 5 rem, I don't know. So we'd have to just play around with it some. We'd have to wrap a couple other things, but that's pretty close overall to the finished design over this way. And obviously if we change this text size as well, that will improve it. So maybe let's finish with that. So we'll come in here and say font size like 3 rem or something like that. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the overall look of that. Hopefully just thinking through how you might structure these things out. Obviously that stinks, so we'd have to work on that too. But I'm overall pretty happy with how the whole thing stacks up and works for us. Well, I hope it was a help just to kind of walk through the process with me. Again, it's not a completely finished project, but I like just kind of doing these things live because they help me, at least watching other people do this, and I hope that's the case for you as well. All right, well, with all of that, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Happy coding.